Hello, and thank you for joining College 2 Consulting. Today we're going to go over one of my favorite classes to teach, which is how to answer behavioral interviews. And for those who don't know, behavioral interviews are the fit portion of an interview where you and your interviewer will just really be talking about you. They'll ask you questions about your past and why you did this, and to give them an example of the time you did this, and we'll just see how you answer it. The reason why I love to give this class is because so many people underestimate what a behavioral interview is. They talk on and on and on. They have no structure. They don't talk about results, no challenges, and they just don't really know what to do. They really don't focus on this and focus too much on the case. So I'm going to give you a structure of how to answer behavioral interviews for the rest of this class, okay? So first thing is you will get at least these 3 questions. Every interview you get, I guarantee if it's a fit interview, you will get these 3 questions. And the first one is, tell me about yourself or walk me through your resume. The second is, why do you want to join this company or why this job? And the third is, what questions do you have for me? Okay? So what I will do is I will answer these questions with my personal stories as if I was recruiting for consulting again. So with the tell me about yourself question, a lot of people just talk and talk and talk, and they don't even really know where to go. Here's how I want you to answer this. I want you to start off with your education in your hometown. And when you talk about education, say why you studied what you studied. Then you say, I have 2 relevant work experiences. Go into story 1, then story 2. And then third is you say, now I'm looking for this new job because whatever reason. Okay, and on the second part, we'll go into how I want you to structure it, but just listen to how I'm going to say this. I'm going to hit something called the situation, the trouble, the action, the result, the STAR method when I answer number 2. Okay, so let's say I get this question. John, tell me about yourself. I would say, well, my name is John. I grew up in the city of Chicago. I'm very proud of it. And I went to Northwestern where I studied psychology, and then I moved over into organizational behavior. And the reason why I did that is because I really like the people aspect of psychology, but I wanted to apply it to business. I think I have some relevant work experience. One story is where I worked for a company called SAP. And SAP, you probably see them in the airports, and they have these big, big billboards. And essentially a big software manufacturer firm. It's like Excel for businesses. It's the kind of stuff that they make. So the situation was I was managing the customer satisfaction scores. And the trouble was I noticed a dip. We were not doing as great as we were in the last years, or just not really on par where we needed to be. So what I did is I analyzed the data. And I was trying to figure out why our score so low. And what I determined and what I was able to see is that our sales team, which is the team I was on, was doing really, really, really well, 9 out of 10. But the internal consultants were doing very, very poorly, like a 6 out of 10, which is dragging everything down. So I brought this up to the senior vice president, who then made an effort to focus on the internal consulting practice. And as a result, our score improved by 20% in the following year. Okay? So what I'm doing is I'm going, here's what the story is, here's why it was tough, what did I do, and what was the result? Then I would say this. So I think I have another good example of why I have the skills necessary for consulting. And this is where I was working with my on-campus group that I started, where it was consulting for on-campus clubs. So one of our clients was this magazine, this student-run business magazine. And they had been around for a couple years, maybe 2 years, and what they were noticing was that readership was decreasing. There just weren't a lot of people who were really reading it. They didn't really know. They just weren't sure. So what we did, me and my team that I was managing, is first we did a mass survey, and we just tried to find out demographics on who was reading this current magazine. And what we found out was that not a lot of people were reading this magazine. Only about 20% of the campus even knew what the magazine was. And they didn't really understand what the content was. So the action that we took is we devised a new plan, a new strategy of relaunch. And what we did is from our data that we got from the survey, we found out that a lot of juniors or third years really, really knew the magazine more than the freshmen or first years or the second years or sophomores. We asked them why. It was because they remember it being launched their freshman year. So we said, oh, these guys remember it from that long ago, but nothing really has happened with it. Okay. So what we did is we targeted freshmen again, and we just had a huge marketing blitz in everywhere you can think of. As a result, readership increased by 20%, meaning now 40% of the campus knew the magazine. Okay? And I think those two experiences show some accomplishments that I've had and skill sets that I can bring to consulting. Now, I'm looking to go into consulting because I want to really get exposure to new types of industries, and I think it would be a good place to go. So that's how to answer the first question. Tell me about yourself. I'm not listing everything. I'm just going to list 2 things, but in very, very, very good detail. Okay? Second question. Why do you want to join this company? Well, here's how I want you to answer this. You need to talk about at least these 3 things. One is you want to grow and learn, and that's what the company can provide. Second is you like the people. And third is reference a white paper if possible. And a white paper, again, is a publication that the company puts out on their opinions or their views or where they want to go or all this type of stuff. Look it up. Go to a company's website. Go to Insights or their perspective. Find an interesting article that you like about a topic, because the worst thing is to talk about something you absolutely have no interest in, because they'll call you out on it. Okay? But remember this. When you get this question, why do you want to join this company? It's not just about what you want, but it's also what they will get from you. Okay? So you kind of need to push that in as well. So I'll answer this question for you. Let's say I get the second question. So, John, why do you want to join this company? Why do you want to join this job? Why do you want to take this job? I would say, well, I want to join this consulting company because it provides a great opportunity to grow and learn. And I would like to get exposure to a lot of different industries. I like to have a diverse skill set very early on, and I think consulting is a great way to give me those skills, as well as I can give these analytical skills that I would learn to you from the past experience that I've garnered. Second reason why I want to go into consulting is because I really like the people. I really got to talk with this person or this person or this person, and they were just really, really good. And I really like the atmosphere and the culture from this company. For instance, I really like how you do this, whatever. And lastly, I'm really interested in the type of work that's being done. I had a chance to check out the white paper about whatever on the website, and I really, really like it. And I want to be in a company that also has a similar view and progression that is where I want to align with. Okay? So now what I did is I answered, I want to grow and learn. I want to be with the people who are there. And I really like white paper. Now, white papers are really, really, really nice polish on this question, because not a lot of people take the time to read white papers, especially undergrads. So this will be really, really good for you. Okay. Now I get this other question. What questions do you have for me? Well, the way to answer this is, firstly, you should probably talk about just easy questions. I call them like softball questions, very, very soft, about why did you pick this company? What do you like about it the most? But then as you go on, talk more about something that's more specific, that shows you've done research. Talk about their service lines, the industries that this consulting company has. Talk about the white paper, and then ask about information outside the job to connect. So what I mean by this is you can ask information about this person that they did outside of consulting. Now you're really, really fitting with this person. So I'll give you an example how I would answer this. And another real quick piece of advice I have is, some students have a tendency to ask a question, get an answer, then ask a new question. I don't want that. It needs to be conversational. A rule that I teach my students is, for every answer you get, ask at least one more follow-up question. So I'll show you how it's done. So I get this question. What question do you have for me? I would say, well, why did you pick this company over this company? And they would say, oh, I really like company X more than company Y because whatever reason. So, oh, that sounds great. Is there a specific industry that you really like? And then they say, sure, I really like the energy industry, whatever. Great. And you say, okay, I actually read this paper on energy, or I read this white paper on aviation or transportation, whatever, that your company put out. And I really like this thing. Is there a way that if I were to join, or is there a way that I could potentially be on a group to help with the research for these types of papers? And they would say, oh yeah, you would probably be on our white label team or white paper team, and or this team or this team or this team. Great. So now what I'm doing is I'm starting off with very easy questions. I'm getting more specific into the white paper, because now it shows that I've done some research. Now this question about asking stuff outside of work is how you do this. You'd say, is there anything that you did outside of classes that helped you in undergrad to get ready for consulting? And they would say, oh, I was on swim team. And this is the actual answer I got. It's like, okay, how does swim team help? Well, you really learn about being with a group, and you learn about kind of sticking it out together. Okay, and then so what I said is follow up with that one answer. So this person told me swim team, I said this to this. So when you were on swim team, what type of events did you do? Did you do freestyle or whatever? But what this allows you to do is now you get to see more of this interviewer that a lot of other candidates won't see. And so now you can piggyback off that and talk about what's interesting to them. And this will help you be memorable and connect. Okay, so these are the 3 questions that I want you to practice. And here's how I want you to answer most of these questions. So we have something called a STAR method. And STAR stands for situation, task, which I like to say is trouble, action, and result. And usually these questions start off with, tell me about a time. The reason why you use a STAR method is because it's a very, very structured way to do it. A lot of people don't do it. And I like to change that T from task to trouble because instead of saying, here's the situation, here's what the task was, here's my action result, if you say the trouble, it makes your action look better because it says, here's the situation, here's why it was tough, really, really tough. Here's what I did, here's the result. That little tough thing makes your action look much, much, much better. So let's walk through this as I give an actual answer. Let's say we get this. So tell me about a time you worked in a team. First, the situation is you depict the background of the story. You say where you were. So I say, as you can see on my resume, I was in the first national Accenture case competition. Okay. Then you go into the trouble. You say, why was this tough? Well, it was really tough because we had a vague objective that was causing the team to spread out too thin. And as a nice crutch, you can use this. You can actually start off your answers with the situation was, the trouble was, the action was, the result was. It will help you for a little bit until you can do it without having to say that. So explain what actions you took and show how that was the turning point. So I would say, so then the action I took is I said that we should specialize into different subjects, and we diligently practice, and I taught the team how to do something called devil's advocate, which is basically bashing everyone else's work so that they can really understand how to defend it. And the last thing it is I assigned a point person, meaning that when we got Q&A, we had a point person who then routed that question to everyone else that was appropriate. This made us look much more structured and polished and skilled. And then with results, you illustrate why the action was impactful. So you would say, as a result, we won the first national Accenture case competition for Northwestern. So I had to do that answer again. John, tell me about the time you worked in a team. I would say this. As you can see in my resume, I was in the first national Accenture case competition. A trouble that we had was that it was a really vague objective, which was how can Accenture go green? And it was just so much to deal with. And it was causing our team to spread out too thin. So an action that I took is that I asked us to specialize right away. So one person took this, I took how the people side would work, another person took how the finances would work, and et cetera. And I advocated for devil's advocate as well as having a point person, and I really made sure we practice. As a result, we won the first national Accenture case competition against 2 other very, very big and good schools. Okay, so that's how to use the STAR method. Okay, last thing is when you get this, well, what questions do you have for me? Ask some knowledgeable questions. So I say there are 3 tiers of questions. There are basic questions, which require no research at all, meaning just why did you choose company X over company Y? Or what do you like most about this company? Those are good to start off with. Those are good warm-up questions, but don't bank on those as being memorable. The mid-tier of questions require some research. Look at the websites, look at handouts, get insights from others. Go to info sessions to get some information that you can use for your mid-tier questions. An example is, I heard that your company has an annual outing. For instance, Booz has something called the Booz Cruise, what they did, and Deloitte has something called Impact Day. If you can research that, which is on the website, those provide better questions to ask. So what is Impact Day? Okay. Advanced questions show some homework, and this is really, really good stuff. This will just make you look like you did a lot of research. So an example is, I read the white paper on mobile payments. How does the Motorola acquisition from Google impact this theory? And you don't have to ask all about the white paper. You can even ask, I read this white paper about your mobile payments for Motorola. If I were to join, is there a way that I would possibly get on that type of team? That just at least shows you've done this research. Okay, so we've gone through how to answer behavioral questions with the STAR method, as well as the 3 questions you're going to get and what questions you should ask your interviewer. My recommendation is we have some work on the site that is a list of all these behavioral questions. What I would like you to do is fill out what the situation was, answer every one of them, and just write one word to help you remind yourself what the situation was, what the trouble was, what the action was, and the result was. If you don't come prepared, ready to answer these questions, then you're not going to be structured and it's going to be very, very visible. Okay? All right. Practice those, and I'm assuring you that it will be very polished and you will do very well in the behavioral. All right.